Right around the time the weather began to warm in 2023, I published a video titled Beautiful Jumping Spiders of North America, featuring a collection of about a dozen or so species. A lot of people liked it, but some did not. A few people were disappointed that the majority of the species that I featured in the video were found mostly in the eastern half of the continent. Well, I only feature spiders that I myself have observed, filmed, and photographed, and I live in the middle of the United States, i.e., east of the Rocky Mountains. So, this video is called My Beautiful Jumping Spiders, as it will feature spiders that I observed near where I live, and many of them are found mostly in eastern North America, again, east of the Rocky Mountains. I will say, the western edge of the Great Plains seem to split the country in half as far as jumping spider species go. You'll find there are a lot of species that are mostly found east of this line, and then a lot of species that are mostly found west of this line. There are some species, however, such as the bold jumper, that are found in both the east and the west. Something else I mentioned in the previous video was the fact that there are more than 6,000 species of jumping spider in the world, and about 350 of them can be found in North America, north of Mexico. I haven't seen all of them, just a couple of dozen or so. Additionally, most of the spiders I found this year were the usual suspects, but I learned a lot and got some pretty good photos and video as well. So, this video will feature some new spiders, but also many species that were seen in the previous video, with mostly new footage and photos, of course. And before I continue, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about jumping spiders in general, then I'll feature several species. I like all spiders, but jumpers may be my favorite. Jumping spiders are so called because they jump.
Oh my gosh, it's a jumping spider. Looks like a Phidippus audax, or maybe it's Phidippus fat ass. I better get some photographic documentation. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Oh no. You've been flattened. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
All kidding aside, they can leap great distances to escape predators and to pounce on prey. While jumping spiders make webbing for hiding spaces and for creating and protecting egg sacs, they don't spin intricate webs like orb weavers. They stalk or ambush their prey. Without getting too scientific, i.e. boring, I'll explain how these spiders can jump so far and so fast. They do not have huge muscles in their legs. Scientists believe that they use a sudden change in blood pressure to launch themselves. At least, that's the current theory. When ready to pounce, an instant increase in blood flow to the legs, particularly the back two pairs of legs, force them to extend rapidly. Okay, let's slow it down a bit. One jump I captured on film this year, and I made a separate video about it, was this female dimorphic jumping spider capturing a common idiom moth that was clinging to a ceiling. The spider was about 7 feet away, then spent quite a bit of time, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, creeping closer and closer to its intended prey. The closer it got, the slower it crept. Now, jumping spiders often put down a dragline made of silk periodically as they move along. They also put down a line just before they launch, either to capture prey or to escape predation. I wondered if that dragline would help as the spider was on the ceiling, as in inverted, upside down. Would gravity play a part, I wondered? I pictured the spider launching from the surface only to fall straight down, missing the moth entirely. The jump was lightning quick, deadly accurate, and the spider's dragline kept it from falling to the ground. Additionally, jumping spiders have excellent vision. A jumping spider's two largest eyes, the anterior median eyes, detect colors and are used for judging distance and depth perception. These anterior median eyes have very fine vision similar to humans. The anterior lateral eyes, posterior median eyes, and posterior lateral eyes detect light and motion. Jumping spiders can detect movement from nearly all around. A few years ago, researchers at Cornell University conducted a neurophysical analysis of vision in jumping spiders. They sedated a bold jumping spider by a short refrigeration process, then secured it to a 3D holder with some wax. They made a tiny hole in the back of the spider's head, then inserted a tiny electrode into its brain. While the spider was secured to the front of a computer monitor, a film of a housefly moving across the monitor was played. The sight of the fly triggered several classes of neurons in the spider, and the researchers learned much from the project. The researchers also discovered that these spiders can hear sounds, something previously believed not to be true. Although they couldn't find ears anywhere on a jumping spider, they believe the hairs of the legs on the spiders can detect vibrations. This allows them to hear predators as they get close. One of the new species I observed this year was the Whitmans jumping spider, Phidippus whitmani. This species was named after this fella, Charles Otis Whitman, who was an American zoologist influential in founding the study of animal behavior. He lived from 1842 to 1910. This individual was a male with brilliant red coloring on its abdomen and cephalothorax. Where males are red, females are duller in color, mostly tan above. Now, I've read that this species can grow to a half an inch in length, but this little fellow was much smaller. One behavior I noted was that this individual seemed to constantly move his front legs and pedipalps, like this. Here is a map from iNaturalist where observations of this spider have been reported. The states and territories in green are where these spiders have been confirmed. And I'll say this, these are only areas where people have submitted observations to iNaturalist. I would imagine that this species can be found outside of this area, so take it with a grain of salt. I think I'll make a video about iNaturalist and how people can sign up. And if you have a photo of a jumping spider, or any creature for that matter, you can send it to me via email and I will try to identify it for you. My email address is rnw@usa.com. Another species I observed this year was the Cardinal jumping spider, one of my favorites. Well, I have many favorites, so the word is somewhat watered down. But anyway, the individual I found was a male, and I got some decent footage and photos. The male has a brilliant orange-red body overall with black legs. Unlike the Whitman's jumping spider, this Cardinal jumper was pretty calm. The female, which I've still only seen once and got this crummy photo of, is larger, slightly duller in color, and has legs that are more brownish rather than black. Interestingly enough, it is thought that this species, and other reddish-colored jumping spiders, developed the coloration as a mimic to a velvet ant, such as the cow killer, pictured here. There are not many creatures that want to tangle with velvet ants, which are actually ground-dwelling wasps and have very painful stings. One of the first species of jumper I saw this year, once the weather began to warm, was the tan jumping spider, which is very common where I live. And this species will sometimes venture out on warm winter days as well. And most of the earliest jumpers were preying on, among other things, crane flies. By the way, for those who don't know, this is a crane fly. They're often referred to as mayflies, but they are not. Crane flies have very long legs and hold their wings horizontally. Mayflies, like this one, hold their wings vertically. There are many species and they range considerably in size and color, but most have this general appearance. Additionally, although many people call crane flies mosquito hawks or skeeter eaters, they do not actually prey on adult mosquitoes, or even other insects. For most species of crane flies, adult lives are short and they don't eat at all. Back to jumping spiders, however. This particular tan jumper lived near a porch light and took advantage of the bugs hanging around from the night before. And this fairly thin male ventured out one warm day, probably in search of a much-needed meal. Males have more intense patterning than females, and have orange faces versus the white faces of females. and this female captured and was consuming a young jumping spider of a different species. The victim appeared to be either an emerald or Putnam's jumping spider. Here's a map of confirmed sightings. These two on the west coast may have been relocated individuals, but who knows for sure. Like I said before, you might find these spiders outside of the area where they're reported. Another species emerging earlier was the bold jumping spider, and they too were feasting on crane flies. I found this handsome male, which had some bright bluish salicery. Although bold jumper male and female resemble each other, there are ways to distinguish between the two. For one, with the male, its front pair of legs are longest, while the female's back legs are its longest. Additionally, males have comma-shaped lobes at the end of their pedipalps, as seen here. It's not easy to see, but it's there. Here's another male, a young one, also feasting on a crane fly. I found this large female, a little over half an inch in length, not including the legs, and I noted an interesting behavior. When startled, she stood tall, as seen here. I assume this is an effort to appear larger to a potential predator. Another species that was quite abundant in April was the sylvan jumping spider, and most that I saw were males. And the males in my photos are reddish-brown on the legs and cephalothorax, but some can be black in these areas. This species once had the common name of woodland jumping spider, but underwent a taxonomic swap in 2016. Its scientific name changed from Theodina sylvana to Colonus sylvanus. In fact, all three species of North American Theodina were transferred to the genus Colonus. I love the look of these spiders, with the red and yellow coloring around the eyes, and it appears as if they have translucent skulls that surround huge brains. However, while jumping spiders are intelligent, their brains are not that large. This male here had snagged a young katydid. And then I found this young female, maybe an eighth of an inch in length, maybe. Look at that face.
Aww. Aww.
In early May, I discovered this young male thin-spined jumping spider, and then observed him for a few weeks. I'd seen a female of the species previously, but this was the first time I'd seen a male. And this male, when young, resembled the female but had swollen pedipalps. Ding! For those who don't know, male spiders store sperm in the pedipalps. The pedipalps are also used to transfer seed to the female during copulation. I was very happy to find this little fella, as this species is one of my favorites, without question. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thin-spined jumpers appear as if they were dipped in gold, and depending on the angle in which you look at one, they can have pink, green, or light purple iridescence about them. I watched this male over a period of weeks, and he eventually underwent an amazing transformation, and came out like this. It definitely added to its handsomeness, and I assume this look is something that occurs to mature males to attract females. Looking at this male reminded me of the dark-faced dimorphic jumping spider. I plan to feature this species with its own video, but I feel I need to study it a little more, and there just isn't a whole lot out there available concerning this species. I don't often use Wikipedia as a research tool, but even it is very limited when it comes to this species. However, one observation I did make was, this male often moved his front legs, like this. It wasn't constant, but sometimes it was very rapid. Then, I discovered this spider, which I believe is in the genus Picamia, although I'm not sure exactly which species. These are ant mimic spiders, and as far as I can tell, look most like variable field ants and carpenter ants. I'd seen him photograph one of these before, however, I didn't spend too much time observing them, something I now regret. I will make a separate video about this genus in the future. Another spider I spoke about in the other video was Habernatus coacetus, which I said its common name was the red-faced jumping spider, but it has another common name, the bandana jumping spider. I don't know. Anyway, I found another male, and this time I got some good video footage. I also noted some behavior. When startled, rather than putting up a defensive stance, it would withdraw by lying low and tucking in its legs, like this. It's a super cute little spooter, and I mean little. At first glance, one would think it's a baby of a larger species, and it's another eastern jumping spider. And finally, another spider I featured in the first video was the Putnams jumping spider, Phidippus putnami. However, I only showed a few photos, and I didn't get to feature too much about the female. I mentioned before that this one is pretty much in my top 3 of most beautiful jumping spiders. Where I live, of course. And this year I interacted with this species perhaps more than any other. I learned much about their behavior. First, I found this young female which had a reddish abdomen. She was quite adept at catching prey and continued to grow over the summer. It's funny, sad really, but an internet search of this spider produces little in the way of results. Oh, there is some information, description, range, name, etc., but nothing really about behavior. I found 2 males and discovered their colors varied between the 2. Here is one which had mostly black coloring on the cephalothorax and abdomen, and here is another which had a lot of olive green coloring on it. I detailed this in a separate video, but one behavior I noted was, when startled, they appear to bounce around all over the place. I imagine it's a defense mechanism to lessen the likelihood of a predator getting a good grip during an attack. And so it's probably a good thing, but it comes off as a bunch of drama, by both males and females, and I enjoyed all the interaction with them, which provided plenty of laughter. The drama always occurred when, I guess, they felt threatened. Here is some of what I thought was a bunch of overreacting, and keep in mind that I was extremely gentle with these creatures, but they almost always overreacted to everything. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already.